year. Lombardi leaves Levi's. Stadium right behind me. The 49ers have played for the final time this season at Levi's, but they end on a happy note. They beat the Dallas Cowboys 19-12 in an epic, a tractor pull, a bruising battle to punch their ticket to the NFC Championship game. The 49ers have done it. They're going to go to Philadelphia. Flights booked, hotel is set. It's going to be cold. It's going to be physical. That's what George Kittle said. It's going to be ugly in Philadelphia next week. 49ers hope that they make it ugly for the home team. They're going to have to go on the road. They are 2.5-point underdogs to open the week against the Eagles. These, I think, are clearly the two best teams in the NFC. And let's let them duke it out to see who represents the conference in the Super Bowl. 49ers and Eagles on one side, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals on the other side. Four best teams in football. I think it's clear after this weekend we're going to get to see the Final Four be four truly deserving teams. But we're here to talk about 49ers Cowboys. Let's put this all into perspective. First of all, this is going to be another great addition to the annals of 49ers Cowboys, right? We talk about the 1970-1971 playoffs, the 71 game that was January 1971, NFC title game that the Cowboys ripped out the 49ers' hearts to close out Kezar Stadium. We talk about 1972 divisional playoffs at Candlestick Park, the big comeback, 28-13. 49ers led 2 touchdowns to the Cowboys in the last 90 seconds, the Tony Fritsch reverse onside kick. Put the 49ers in just a heart-rending spot, right? When I say they had their heart ripped out, it was as close to that as can be possible. January 1982, the catch, Dwight Clark, payback against Dallas, 92, 93, 94. Obviously, part of the most epic rivalry of all time. Fast forward, the last season, 49ers beat the Cowboys in Arlington, where Dak Prescott runs out the clock with a really ill-advised play. So all this history is what forms the backdrop for games like the one that we just saw on this field today. And the 49ers have now added to that history with a true playoff bruiser. This was in the mold of those great heavyweight fights that you'd see in the playoffs in the 1980s and 1990s. This was not a fantasy football game. This was a real football game. This was physical football. And, you could tell who the casuals are and who the real fans are, who the purists are, based on some of the social media replies. Everybody upset about play calling, all this, all that. I'm sorry. These were two elite defenses. And for the Cowboys, I would say truly elite defensive line. Better at pass rushing than the 49ers. These were two really good defenses just throwing haymakers. And in a playoff setting, I'm sorry, it's not going to be pretty for the offenses. I'll go back to my prediction, and I said, I get it. I said 38-28. That was more of a symbolic thing, hearkening back to the score of the January 1995 game, last time before this that the Cowboys had played in the postseason in the Bay Area. But 30-20 was my more serious prediction. I pegged it at too high. I hadn't seen this Dallas defense play yet this year. I had seen Dallas last year. It was a really good defense, but, what the 49ers actually did against Dallas last year in scoring those 23 points, or they probably could add a little bit more. There was some turnover issues there at the end. I remember Garoppolo threw an interception. But what the 49ers did against the Cowboys last year, to me, is now even more impressive because they were able to control game flow throughout the course of the first half plus with balanced offensive play. They weren't really able to control the game flow with a more talented offense at the skill positions in this one. That's how quickly Dallas was moving around on both the front end and the back end. This was a really, really good Cowboys defense that the 49ers came away really impressed with. I was in the locker room after this football game, and the 49ers were talking about, these guys were flying around. Micah Parsons, obviously, but he's the headliner of that defense. But everybody, all 11 for the Cowboys, were really active in this game. They're plugging running holes. They're taking away throwing lanes in the first half. The 49ers showed up today on this field, and they realized very quickly that this was going to be a war against the Cowboys. Now, the same was true in the other direction, which is what made this the defensive tractor pull. That's what I like to call it when the two teams are just really vying and struggling for field position back and forth. 49ers showed up with more of a coverage over rush oriented unit, which is a big change, obviously, from the past. I compare this Dallas pass rush to the 49ers 2019 pass rush. I mean, they just roar around the edges. They're not quite as good against the run. They're speed-oriented pass rush. Well, the 49ers now, they have diversified their defense to the point where the coverage, to me, is just as strong as the rush. Coverage was super, super impressive today, and it's all tethered and kind of based in the linebacker play. One of the most impressive plays that I've ever seen on a football field happen in this game, and it was when Fred Warner blanketed CeeDee Lamb, a receiver, down the seam in the second half. That was insanely awesome. I mean, Fred Warner is a, 230 to 240 pound linebacker? CeeDee Lamb, how much does CeeDee Lamb weigh? 190? Either way, he's much lighter and supposedly much quicker, or supposedly, I say, than Fred Warner, right? Receiver is supposed to be quicker than a linebacker, but Warner is elite. That was a Hall of Fame caliber play. He not only trails, but he blankets CeeDee Lamb down the entire seam, 30 to 35 yards downfield, and forces the incompletion. So both defenses in this game were doing stuff from a speed perspective that you don't see. I don't want to say every day, because obviously you don't see it every day, but you hardly ever see. I mean, this was high-level play between both the 49ers and Cowboys out on that field. So when it ends up as a 19-12 49ers win, an ugly win for those people who just want big offensive numbers, don't be surprised, because that right there was top-level defensive performance out on the field. And, it might not make people who want to see gaudy numbers in the box score happy, but that's how you have to win in the playoffs. And I said it was evocative of some of those playoff games that we saw very frequently through the 80s and 90s. Well, the 49ers in the past have been on the losing end of heartbreakers that have been stylistically similar to this game. Think about the 49ers' losses to the New York Giants, the one that prevented the three-peat 1990 season, right? The Roger Craig fumble. Giants kicked that field goal at the end. What did they win? 15-13, I think, was the final score. And then think about what happened 11 years ago today. This is the anniversary of the NFC Championship game against the New York Giants, where Kyle Williams fumbled twice and the 49ers lost. So consider that when you evaluate what happened on this field today. Ray McCloud fumbled away a punt on the 11th anniversary of the Kyle Williams two-fumble game off of punts, yet the 49ers still found a way to win this game. So before anybody complains about the 49ers and their performance today, consider the fact that they reversed a franchise trend in the past of losing tractor pulls like this because of miscues, namely fumbles. Roger Craig, obviously, back in January of 91, and Kyle Williams 10 or 11 years ago today. That says something about this 49ers team. If you can win a game like this, a game where it's bruising, it's difficult to move the ball, it is a total slog. If you can withstand a fumble on special teams deep in your own territory in a game like this and still win, you've got something going for you. And what do the 49ers have going for them? Well, they have an awesome defense going for them. It's a complete joke now at this point, looking at it in retrospect, right? When people were saying, the 49ers haven't played anybody. They're not really that good, blah, 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 all this, all that. Well, now they have played the Dallas Cowboys, who are really good. They held them to 282 yards of total offense and 4.7 yards per play when everything was on the line. And when everything was especially on the line in the second half, 49ers stonewalled Dallas. Cowboys get the ball back with 3 minutes to go, and they go 3 plays for a total of 0 yards. Cowboys get it one more time with about 50 seconds to go, and they do absolutely nothing again. In fact, they try to run the let's make Ezekiel Elliott a center play there at the end, basketball on grass, whatever you want to call it. And Azeez Al-Shire, not too happy about it, just destroys, decleats Ezekiel Elliott, which was one of the more astounding things I've seen on a football field. And then Jimmy Ward said, "Get that bullshit out of here. You guys are trying some trick play action on us. This is not going to work." At the end of one of the most physical games that I had ever seen, and Jimmy Ward just, left the Cowboys in the turf. We'll take a look at the turf to see if there's still a mark there on my way out. But that was just a statement to finish the game. When Dallas absolutely had to move the football, and that was when they were down in this football game, 19-12, and I believe it was 16-12 at one point. They didn't. The 49ers stonewalled them, something Tampa Bay last week was absolutely unable to do. So this is an elite 49ers defense. The narrative that this team somehow would be tripped up by better competition was proven completely out of line and completely false. People who watch too much college football, you can't watch too much. I get it. You like watching college football. But people who can't differentiate between college football and the NFL would say something like that. They would say, oh, the 49ers haven't played anybody yet. I'm sorry. The NFL is the best of the best. The most talented players are out here. It makes it actually much easier to measure how a team performs relative to its competition than at the college level when you're playing Furman or, any school that Alabama is going to beat by 60 points. In the NFL, we have advanced metrics to gauge what a team is doing, even if it's playing a team that is worse than it, right? Because everything in the NFL, even the worst team, can legitimately threaten the best team on any given day. You can't say that in college football. So from the 49ers perspective, sure, they might have had the second easiest strength of schedule this year, but that doesn't mean that they're playing a bunch of cupcakes. They're still playing teams whose every single player was the best player on his college team. So the Kansas City Chiefs almost lost to the Houston Texans this year, right? The 49ers did lose to the Chicago Bears. Those are just examples of this is a week in and week out league where you have to perform or you will lose. And the 49ers in their games against the schedule that they were given, they had no choice but to play the schedule that they were given. They ranked number one in efficiency. They ranked number one in offensive efficiency, number one in defensive efficiency, number 4 in special teams efficiency since picking up Christian McCaffrey. That was enough data to tell us the 49ers were Super Bowl contenders. I said it week in and week out as this was happening. But then all of a sudden you have a lot of Johnny-come-lately show up on the spot this week. It's mainly people who haven't watched the team over the course of the year, and they're saying, oh, well, yeah, they haven't actually played anybody. Those of us who have studied this team closely and studied the trends closely would tell you that they have played who's been on their schedule, and they've done what they should do to teams on their schedule, or at least what a great team should do to teams on its schedule. And the 49ers have now won 12 straight games. The 49ers have gone 3 months. Like, it's about to be midnight here on the West Coast, right, in about 30 minutes. It's going to be January 23rd. The 49ers last lost on October 23rd. The 49ers have gone 3 months without losing a football game. You have to be damn good to go 3 months without losing a football game. And that's what the 49ers have been able to do. And, okay, fine. Let me just take your strength of schedule concerns at face value. Today they played a top 5 DVOA team at the Dallas Cowboys, and they beat them 19-12, and they held them to 286 yards of offense. They embarrassed them offensively. At the end of the game, Dallas wasn't able to move the ball at all. But 3 months since the 49ers have lost. Now, what do we talk about first? Offense, defense, special teams? I mean, there's something to talk about in every single phase of this game. I wrote, and my article is going to come out soon, I wrote about the 91-yard drive. Because in the first half, the 49ers only averaged 2.5 yards per carry. Like I said, Dallas was snuffing them out. It was 9-6 49ers. The only reason the 49ers were up in the first half was because they had 2 interceptions. Because one of the keys to the game, I said, make Dak Prescott look like Dak Prescott from the regular season, not the one that played on Monday night against Tampa Bay. Dak in the regular season was an interception machine. 15 picks for Dak Prescott in the regular season. Well, threw 2 more in this game against the 49ers. And could have been more. Dre Greenlaw almost had a pick 6 at the end. But Deommodore Lenoir Not many people talking too much crap about him anymore, right? Had the first one. Then Jimmy Ward tipped one to Fred Warner for the second interception. Massive play. End of the first half. Cowboys driving. I know they had kicker issues with Brett Maher, but as they were driving, it looked like everything was tilting into Dallas's favor. They were going to get the ball first in the second half. And with that interception tipped from Ward to Fred Warner, the 49ers got it instead. Shanahan then seemingly mismanaged the clock, burned about 20 seconds in a timeout, but Brock Purdy and Jawan Jennings bailed Shanahan out of that situation with a deep crossing pattern, 22 yards, sets up Robbie Gould, who kicked one of his, I believe, 3 field goals on the day. How many did he have? Gould, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 field goals for Robbie Gould. So Robbie Gould, by the way, 28 of 28 in his career in the postseason. That is an NFL record. No kicker in NFL history outside of Robbie Gould has kicked that many field goals without missing one than what we just saw. So 28 out of 28 for Gould. Anyway, the tipping point was that interception. And we talk about the turnover battle. 49ers led the league in turnover margin this year. They led the league in interceptions. Dak Prescott almost led the league in interceptions with his 15. Didn't quite lead the league. He didn't play enough games. If he would have played more, would have played the 49ers more often, he would have led the league. But that was a matchup that the 49ers wanted to exploit in this game, and they absolutely did. So the defense was turning Dak Prescott over while the offense was struggling, while Dallas's defense was playing at a super high level. So in the second half, the 49ers had the lead despite not playing great offensively. That is the essence of complementary football. And that's when they embarked on their 91-yard drive. The 91-yard drive that turned around this game, it was the drive of George Kittle. He had to restore balance to the offense. What better way to restore balance to the offense than through the player who best embodies it? George Kittle can run block just as ferociously as he can run pass patterns. I mean, we saw him beat a cornerback, Deron Bland, on a play earlier in this game. I mean, how much of a luxury is that? Kittle can help you block Micah Parsons, and he can also beat a corner on a pass route. And that's where the bobble play came in. I'm calling it the 9-yard catch because George Kittle first made contact with the football at the 39-yard line, and he finally secured it at the 48. It's 9 yards. In a rivalry that's given birth to the 49ers series of 3 catches, right? You have the catch 1, the catch 2, and the catch 3. The catch 1 happened in 49ers Cowboys back in January 1982. In a rivalry that gave birth to this franchise string of famous catches, Dwight Clark, Terrell Owens, and Vernon Davis. You know, we could have an honorable mention added for George Kittle's catch today. It wasn't a touchdown, but boy, did it play a huge role in this game. It was a 30-yard gain. It was actually an off-schedule play. Brock Purdy rolled out off of the play action, naked rollout, was looking for either Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, or Kyle Juszczyk. Nobody's open, so Kittle improvises, goes off script, kind of like he went off script against Washington when he stole Ray McCloud's touchdown. He goes off script and bolts out to open space, and you give a lot of credit to Brock Purdy for scanning back over the middle of the field, identifying where Kittle was, unleashing a football that was catchable. It was a tough catch, but it was catchable, and Kittle made a catch for the ages, the 9-yard catch. It was literally 9 yards in between the time that he first touched it and finally secured the football. Wow, play from George Kittle. While moving at full speed, while Trayvon Diggs almost took his head off, Kittle told me that he didn't see Diggs on that play. Probably a good thing that he didn't. Might have broken his concentration. Diggs ended up grazing George Kittle, who made the catch. It was a fantastic play, and it was a staple play, that 30-yard gain of that 91-yard drive. Another staple play came on 3rd and 8, sack of Brock Purdy, nullified by the fact that Kittle had drawn a holding penalty. You know, George joked that last week he got held and the official didn't throw the flag, and the official said, hey, if you would have thrown the ball your way, I would have thrown the flag. And George was like, oh, thanks, man. You got to throw the flag because the reason that he didn't throw me the ball was because I was getting held and I was on the ground. So this time, Kittle sold it. He made it look even worse than it probably was, and selling that holding penalty is what got the flag, moved the chains. 2 plays later, Christian McCaffrey waltzes into the end zone, and the 49ers took their 1 touchdown lead, 16-9 at that point. McCaffrey chucks the ball up into the air. George Kittle calls for a fair catch. brings it in, and the rest was history. Because George Kittle made the catch on the fair catch in the celebration and then gave the football to Jerry Rice, who was sitting in the front row. Isn't that awesome? 49ers, Cowboys, epic battle, history all over the place. Jerry Rice in the front row, the only touchdown scored by the 49ers, Jerry Rice gets the ball. What a way to connect past and present, right? What an awesome way to connect. George Kittle gave the ball, touchdown pass to Jerry Rice in 49ers Cowboys in the playoffs. Let that sink in. I mean, last year at this time, I was sitting here with Lambeau Field and the snow in the background, trying to bring context to the monumental occasion that had just happened with Robbie Gould kicking the field goal through the snow, in sub-zero temperatures. Well, this year I'm trying to give you more context. George Kittle's here giving a football to Jerry Rice after the sole winning touchdown of 49ers Cowboys. Jerry Rice obviously would have been such a big part of the 49ers Cowboys rivalry in the past. Just epic stuff happening here on this field. I will mention McCaffrey scored the touchdown. Dalton Schultz scored the touchdown for the Cowboys. Only 2 touchdowns scored on this field today, both by Stanford guys. Christian McCaffrey and Dalton Schultz, who were teammates with Stanford. So there was some, just cool symmetry, I will have to say, on this field today. So that drive, the 91-yarder, just squeezed the life out of Dallas. But even, outside of that drive, the 49ers were really good on third down. They were 7 of 14 on third down today, 50%. 7 of their first 12. They bled Dallas to death in this game. 32 minutes of possession for the 49ers. We know Dallas was a little bit faster on defense in the first half. We know Dallas held the 49ers to 2.5 yards per carry in the first half. Well, in the second half, the 49ers had 4.1 per carry. So, I talked to Aaron Banks. He said they were getting tired. Dallas was getting tired up front. The 49ers were enjoying just pounding the life out of them. And that was the game plan for Kyle Shanahan. We have so many people just complaining, play calling this, play calling that. Guys, it's not easy to just call 5-step, 7-step drop backs and have Purdy throw it 20 to 30 yards every single play when you're playing an all-pro defensive front. And that's what Dallas brought to the table. Those are the types of games that you have to chip away in. You have to wear at them. You have to, knock away at that, outer facade of bravado that Dallas definitely was bringing in the first half. And the 49ers did, and they're patient. And, their defense gave them a chance to do that. The 2 interceptions gave them a chance to be patient as this game unfolded. And they went into halftime with that 9-6 lead thanks to those picks. That's why takeaways are so important, right? And then they were finally able to find themselves at home offensively in the second half. That's how you win an ugly game. That's how you win in the playoffs. It doesn't, 300-yard passers, all this, all that. Doesn't matter. Purdy today, 19 to 29, 214 yards. A lot better than Dak Prescott, 23 of 37, 206 yards, and a 63.6 quarterback rating with those 2 interceptions. Purdy got lucky, and Purdy has gotten a little bit lucky with interceptions this year. Diggs should have had that one at the end of the game. But, hey, at the end of the day, sometimes it better be lucky than good. That's for sure. And the 49ers, I think Prescott got lucky as well. There were 2 more interception opportunities that the 49ers were unable to hold on to. There was one where the ball got batted up in the air. It could have been a pick 6, but nobody was standing there. So, the luck evens out. And I don't think anybody's saying that one team, just escaped this game with such good fortune that if you played this game 10 more times, they would lose 9 out of 10. I think it was really clear that the better team won this football game. The 49ers wore the Cowboys down. They took advantage of the fact they had extra rest, right? Dallas played on Monday. 49ers last played on Saturday. That definitely factored in. 49ers earned that during the regular season. Again, 4.1 per carry in the second half, only 2.5 in the first. 91-yard drive. It's an arm wrestling match, right? You got the arm wrestling match. Maybe at the start, Dallas is pushing you back a little bit. But as this game started, entering that final 30 minutes, the 49ers they get past the 90-degree mark, right? And then they start pushing down. And toward the end, they get Dallas into submission. So that arm wrestling match didn't start off great for the 49ers, but they were never in critical position. But then they ultimately got Dallas to submit by the end of this football game. And that's how you have to win in the playoffs. I mean, that sets the table for 49ers Philadelphia. It's going to be awesome. Philadelphia is even better than Dallas. That's what the numbers suggest. Dallas did beat Philly the last time those two teams played, but Philly didn't have Jalen Hurts. Mobile quarterback. Dak Prescott gave the 49ers some trouble today. They're going to have to do a better job spying against Jalen Hurts to make sure he doesn't get out of the pocket the way that Dak did today. So you have that whole component. Philly's got receivers galore downfield. They got tough guys up front. They've got like 6 first-rounders on the defensive line. You know, we talked about Dallas being a really good pass rush, high pressure rate, high sack rate. Philly's the only team that's better in the NFL in that regard. So Philly is number 1 across the board in sacks, again, in pressure rate. They're obviously explosive offensively. It's an awesome, awesome team. I mean, they've done a good job. They earned their number 1 seed over there. But, you know, I don't think they want to play the 49ers. I think that's the team they least wanted to see. I think Philly wanted Dallas to win this game. Didn't happen. So now Philly has to play the 49ers in the cold. It will be at home. It's going to be one for the ages next week. We have, you know, when I look at where should we go with this? Looking at Philly next week for the 49ers, I think that it's going to be one of those games where people are going to try to come up with every single analytic possible. But the bottom line is that these are 2 top, I think 3 teams, at least top 4 teams, obviously, in the NFL. And it's going to be a championship bout, and you could probably throw most of those analytics out the window. Because we already know that both of these teams are good on both sides of the ball, right? So let's just see them play. It's going to end up being a lot like today, where the 49ers were, you know, I think just a little hungrier on both fronts. The offensive line really relished pounding that Dallas defensive line into submission. And, you know, it took everybody to make that happen, right? You had to have the big Kittle plays, the smart Purdy decisions. Those got better as the game went along, right? Purdy, again, he was rolling out a little too often to his left in the first half, killed a couple drives. But you put it all together, and when that happens, you exert the type of effort up front to win the tug of war, and the 49ers did. They're going to have to do the same thing against Philly next week. Is it going to be harder because it's on the road? Probably. It's going to be cold. Philly's a little bit better than Dallas. But it's not supposed to be easy. Climbing Mount Everest is not supposed to be easy. You got to get up to the mountaintop. And the 49ers are going to be trying to do that next week. But I think, yeah, somebody just pointed out in the comments section, big deal is that Brock Purdy didn't throw any interceptions. It's a rookie quarterback playing big-time playoff football, not throwing any picks. The veteran on the other side, Dak Prescott, is an interception machine. That was the difference in this game. If Purdy's the interception machine and Prescott plays the clean game, Dallas wins. Give Brock Purdy credit. He did what the 49ers needed him to do. Boy, I want to get to In-N-Out Burger. I need to eat. 49ers finished 32 carries, 113 yards. I talked to Juszczyk after, and you know this was a talk in the 49ers locker room and in the meeting rooms leading up to this game. They were approaching this game like a 2021 game where they said, we're going to need to run this ball 30 to 40 times. They knew this was going to happen. 49ers gauged that this was going to happen, that Dallas was going to come out swarming defensively. This was going to be tough sledding. They knew they were going to need 30 to 40 runs, and they got their 32 runs. 113 yards after a first half where it didn't work out too well. Now, McCaffrey, true hero in this game. Talk about 7 of 14 on third downs. McCaffrey caught 6 passes for 22 yards, but it feels like at least 4 of those, maybe 3, but a lot, went for first downs. As he was getting crunched, what a luxury it is to have a running back who can catch a pass like a slot receiver and get crunched by a linebacker, safety, you name it, or 2 of them at once, and hold on and move the chains by the narrowest of margin. But McCaffrey did that today, and then he scored the go-ahead touchdown. And that helped the 49ers make up for the fact that Ray McCloud lost that punt return on the 11th anniversary of the Kyle Williams game. Now, give credit to McCloud. He bursts out of there with how long was it? A 53-yard kick return right after the muffed punt. That's guts from Ray McCloud. Short memory, didn't let the negative fumble affect his play. maybe symbolic of what the 49ers did today. Resilient performance. Absolutely resilient. Their tough players showed up and got it done. Mitchell led the way, 14 carries, 51 yards. Shouldn't have run out of bounds at the end, but, still worked out for the 49ers. Kittle, 5 catches, 95 yards. I thought Debo had 4 catches for 45 important yards. Jennings, 2 catches for 26 yards, drew the personal foul early. Robbie Gould, nails on those kicks. Again, NFL history, 28 of 28 in the playoffs. Wishnowski had a really nice punt that pushed Dallas inside the 20. This is a team win. 49ers are a really solid all-around team. These are Super Bowl contenders that we see. The 49ers are absolutely Super Bowl contenders. And I am going to show you the end of Levi Stadium here before we head out. Let's take a look on one of the suites here. There it is. One more look at the saloon fun on the field, a little goodbye. 49ers beat the Cowboys 17, what was the score? 19-12. It's 19-12. It's almost midnight. I have to go eat. In-N-Out Burger, I think, is going to be on the menu tonight. But a whole lot more coverage coming up. Flights booked to Philly. This was a war. You will remember this for a long time. It's going to go down in the annals of 49ers-Cowboys history. This is the most glamorous rivalry of all time. Beating Dallas is a huge deal. The 49ers did it to advance to the NFC Championship game. I think the style points were beautiful because playoff football is supposed to be bruising football. It's the first thing that Nick Bosa told me. He said, that felt like playoff football. That's the kind of game that I love. By the way, Joey Bosa surprised Nick here. Check out the video. Put it up on my channel. Big hug before the game. Joey showed up. Looked like Joey wanted to play for the 49ers. It was pretty interesting there before the game, though. I got to meet him for the first time. And all good vibes for the 49ers. That is for sure. Anyway, check out The Athletic. See my article on George Kittle. It's a fun one. The 9-yard catch, emblematic of the 91-yard drive, which put the 49ers firmly in the driver's seat. This was an all-around performance from one of the best teams, if not the best team in football. The 49ers continue week in and week out to prove that this is no fluke. They have not lost in 3 months. Again, January 23rd, back to October 23rd, the 49ers have not lost in 3 months. That loss came to the Chiefs, and who knows? Maybe the 49ers will have a chance to avenge it. The light just turned off. That means I got to leave. Everybody take care. Bye now. 49ers win 19-12.